Hi everybody, welcome back. It's Priestess and Medium Rosalind. Today I wanted to share with you information from a beautiful spirit, Nina Simone. She actually came to me, and I think she came to me about a week ago because she knew I could hear her, and she knew that I had enough abilities to be ethical as well, because I don't want to speak about someone who's passed away unless it feels very ethical and as if it'll make, a difference in our consciousness. So I was very pleased to have her come through. She came through completely unexpectedly. I heard her voice and her name in my ear. And I think that what she wanted to do was help us and give us words of encouragement. She's very powerful. And also another thing that happened when I was researching her information after she came to me and I was putting together exactly what I wanted to say about her and what I was getting spiritually from her soul energy is that she can make the energy change, like literally make the energy change. I actually experienced the computer doing things that it had not done before. I could also very strongly hear her periodically in my ears speaking to me. She wants to be known primarily as someone who can bear gifts and give gifts to her people. Any person of color, she considered her people. And Nina Simone was not only a singer, songwriter, a musician, and an overall prodigy, she was also someone who gave freely from her heart. She didn't give up on people. And I feel like her coming to me, it was really divine timing, very emotional, very spiritual, and her energy is very strong and expansive energy. I also found out some interesting things about just her life in general, how she came to be in this existence. It feels very clear to me that she came here with the sole mission to advance all of the civil rights energy, all of the movement that was happening during the 50s and 60s. But she didn't start when she was an adult. She came into the life actually creating thoughts, wisdom, higher consciousness, and stating what she really felt and believed from being a small child. She did not wait until she was over 18 to start into being vocal about what was happening in this country. She was born and named Eunice Kathleen Wayman on February 21st, 1933. I want to make sure I'm pronouncing her original birth name and saying the time and date correctly because I want to give all honor to her. I mean, I'm very, privileged to be able to have contact with her. She was born in Tryon, North Carolina, which I had never heard of that part of North Carolina, but she was born there to her parents, very, very poor. They didn't even have food at certain times. Her mother was Mary Kate Wayman. Wayman. Her father is John Divine Wayman. And both of her parents, this is very interesting, they were both ministers or preachers. And her mother did cleaning work for homes, and she was a minister. And her father was also a minister or a preacher, and he did handyman work as well because they were trying to feed 8 children. She was the sixth one, born of 8 children there in Tryon, North Carolina. And because she was involved in the church with her parents, they realized that she was able to catch on to music and the instruments very early on in age. And when she was 3 years old, they encouraged her to go ahead and play the instruments. And she was actually able to play by ear at the age of 3 because she was too young to read any music then. When she was 12 years old, something happened that was really, I mean, it was very pivotal at 12, okay? So this was in the 1940s. Her parents came to see her at a recital. She was asked to play the piano for this entire recital. And her parents got there early and they got front seats. And they were told later to give up their seats because a white couple had came and they wanted the seats. So her parents got moved to the back. And Nina Simone, with all of her powerful energy, her consciousness, her awareness intact already, she told them she would not play for this recital if her parents were not moved back up to the front. And they had to move her parents back up to the front in 1940s US because, you know, it was kind of a rule that people of color could not have those seats. But she explained to them, you know, I'm not going to play. And this was something very pivotal in her life because she decided she was going to stand up for her people as much as possible. I also feel such a connection to Nina because of her roots in the South and the way it was like she could conjure up things. You know, it was like she had these intentions and these thoughts of mine. She had definitely divine guidance and divine protection looking out for her. And she had different people come to her in her life from childhood that helped her to move on to the next level. So it was like, I'm being told spiritually, it was like a divine congregation for her. She also attended a school called Allen's High School for Girls. This was in another part of Carolina that she would normally not have been able to attend, but she had different people that were helping her during her childhood and during high school to help propel her along. In 1950, she was also denied for the Curtis Institute of Music. She applied for their music program when her family moved to Philadelphia. They denied her and they said it had nothing to do with race. She did not believe them. She began to speak about it, and one of the directors had to speak on it later, like 30 years later. He tried to explain that it had nothing to do with her race. She never believed it, and she spoke about this openly during her career. She also she developed a strong fan base as she continued to move along, and her being denied for certain things. She had to work in nightclubs, and she even managed to sign onto a record label called Colpix. And it's almost like because she was working in the nightclubs and she was able to eventually get this record deal, she made a lot of albums for them. It was a way of opening the path, and eventually people, you know, she developed this fan base. She had very loyal fans, and the fans were not just other African Americans, which doesn't mean it wasn't powerful, but she had fan base all over the world. She developed a very powerful and strong fan base. She also, I feel spiritually, she came along at a time that would propel what Langston Hughes had done, Billie Holiday, Martin Luther King. She actually spent time with him and his family, his children. Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott, they were very close and familiar to one another with her, and so was Nelson Mandela. She considered them to be, you know, just so strong, beautiful, powerful men during the time of so many people of color trying to establish their human rights, their basic human rights here in the United States. Because it was such a rocky time during the 50s and 60s here in the US, Nina Simone actually used her music as a vehicle to change, you know, to change the way all of us were thinking, to help us to expand, to help us to elevate our higher consciousness. And she actually, you know, with the Mississippi bombing and the churches, she made a song called Mississippi Goddamn. That's the name of the song. I mean, she actually named her songs things that were getting people to think about what was happening, and so that people would not forget and they wouldn't reduce it down to a few sentences in a newspaper. She also made Strange Fruit. Strange Fruit. It was about black men being lynched. Strange fruit hanging in the poplar trees. That's what it was about. If you listen to any of these songs, you see how magical this woman was. It's like she really did come in to conjure up things, you know, to make us think and to bring our awareness fully out, you know, to the forefront. She wanted us to be aware. So she did not have a good relationship with a lot of authority figures here in the United States, and she was under federal investigation in her life, and she spent years and years outside of the United States. And she felt that she would never get treated fully, properly, with all of her rights and all of her dignity intact, and she wouldn't fully be protected here in the United States. So she did spend 20 to 25 years living in Barbados, Liberia, London, France. She passed away in France, but I'm going to get to that closer to the end of this. She did marry twice in her lifetime. The first marriage was to a white man, and his name was Don Ross. And she felt somehow that it was a mistake. What I'm getting spiritually is that she was activating a new pathway for many people. People who felt that they were inside the United States and they couldn't marry out of their race. I feel it was very spiritual, it was very soulful, and it was like an activation for so many people, you know, who are wondering, could they ever be with the love of their life? Could they ever be with their soulmate? It was like an activation point. She opened that door for so many people. Her second marriage was very turbulent, and even her daughter, Lisa Simone, spoke about how turbulent the marriage was between her and Andrew Stroud. Andrew Stroud he was well, I don't know if he was retired, but he was a detective. He was actually a policeman. And he was a detective, and it was known that he was very abusive as her manager, but the two of them together had this dream to get Nina Simone actually booked into Carnegie Hall, and it happened. It happened. She actually did it, which was a huge, major event for a person of color to get booked into Carnegie Hall and perform there. Her daughter, Lisa Simone, I feel she had bitterness still right now towards her mother, like her mother's legacy, her mother's memory. But during the tarot reading that I did, which I had to ask Nina Simone, I asked her if it was okay for me to do the tarot reading because Nina actually had secrets. She had secrets. There were things that she did not want anyone to know. Okay. She actually expresses a lot of energy that she recognizes and understands what her daughter Lisa Simone is going through, because on the other side we have this reflection, you know, we have a way of viewing everything after it has happened, and she actually knows that her daughter had suffered. I get that feeling so strongly, and the other part of it is a message for all of us to have and to keep with us as well. Okay, and that message is, and a lot of her cards are upright, which is, you know, which is really amazing. All of her cards, almost all of them, are upright. She wants us to know that we're the director of our own lives. We're the ruler of our own lives, and that we direct our income, our finances, where we want to grow our roots in life, what we want to put our heart and soul and passion into. We are the ones. And she also wanted us to know that, you know, death is just a transition. You know, death is not the end of all of it. So we do not have to feel lonely when someone we love has passed on. She also wants us to know about forgiveness, and being aware and awakened, and to live from a space of consciousness so that we don't have to suffer and we don't have to retaliate against one another. So I believe that's everything that I wanted to cover. I believe those are the different messages that she has given me. Her presence is still, it's very much there, as if she wanted to make sure that her her life was never spoken of in the wrong way. You know, she wanted people to understand she was a doctor of music. She was honored. She was honored at the University of Massachusetts, the Amherst University, and that was one of her doctorates. The other one was in music and humanities at Malcolm X College in Chicago. So yeah, I'm hearing in my ear still, they're telling me what a legend she was. What a legend she was. Now, towards the end of her life, I don't feel that Nina Simone had the right people around her all the time. The last 9 years of her life, she lived it out in France, Leroux, France, and she passed away in her sleep. Supposedly, it was in her sleep on April 21st, 2003. I feel that's ironic because she was born on February 21st and she died on April 21st. So the two and the one, I feel like those are pivotal numbers in her life, like a three life path number, which can be a lot of chaos, really. It can be a lot of chaos, but it seems from that way of chaos, she was really breaking ground. So it couldn't be picture perfect all the time. I also feel towards the end of her life, she probably had some money issues. However, it was not her entire life because she was very smart with money. Also, I just wanted to say that I'm giving full honor and respect to Nina Simone. I'll remember her fully for her music. I Put a Spell on You, Strange Fruit, and for her power and her, being fearless and not being afraid to have a voice, not even as that 12-year-old girl who wanted her parents to have the front row. So I hope you all have enjoyed this. I hope that we've all been expanded in our consciousness and our awareness, and that beautiful energy of her coming in to speak with me because she knew that I could hear her and acknowledge her. And she came in right before that new moon in Aquarius to help us all expand and remain in our higher thoughts, our higher wisdom, our higher conscious. I feel she was definitely a star child. I really do. Okay. So I hope you all have enjoyed that. I will talk to you all again soon. You have a wonderful and blessed rest of your day. Bye bye.